Or whoever is doing this through FaceTime.
Hi. Hello.
Very, very well done, folks. And then people are watching on YouTube and on Facebook Live. And welcome all those people. And glad all of you who are here. If I haven't welcomed you by name yet, I intended to. So good morning to Susan. I don't think I said hi to Gillian and Jennifer. And if I missed your name, Eileen, I apologize. Somebody said to me after one of the services, I felt really left out. I know it's silly, but I felt left out because you didn't say my name. So to anyone whose name I didn't say, I apologize. We are here. It is the Saturday service. I'm Rabbi Brian. This is a different kind of service. It's somewhere between a 12-step meeting, a Quaker meeting, and something else. I don't really know what.
Campfire.
And satire?
Campfire.
Campfire. I'm sorry. We do have a little bit of satire. I do want to thank people who are helping out. I want to thank Alex, as always, for helping to make all of the technology part work. And I want to thank Joe, who moderates in the chat. Hi, Joe. And thank Lee. I don't see where Lee is yet. There.
I don't exist.
There.
Where are you, Lee? Oh, there you are. Hi, Lee. And thank you, Lee, who takes notes and scribes what we're talking about at different times so that the YouTube lines up. I remember back in the beginning when we started in this service, I had to explain to people how Zoom worked. If this is your first Zoom meeting, welcome. Glad you're here. We do have subtitles that are going on, and that's thanks to our friend Ruth Bernstein and for hooking us up with Rev.com, who are not an official sponsor of this, but there are subtitles. So if you go along your ribbon at the bottom, there should be a CC that says closed captioning, and you can put captions on and off. If you are on a phone only, I'm going to mute you. We tend to pick up a little extra sound from phone people only. So if you're on phone only and you want to say something, please unmute yourself so that we can hear you. And great. So I want to do some follow-ups. Last week we talked all about default settings. We talked about default settings and how often we wind up on whatever it is that we were doing. Just show of hands, how many of you were thinking about this at all over the past week, about your default setting? How many of you tried to change your default a little bit? You tried to not do what you constantly always do? We got a bunch of people for that. And how many of you designed fish posters? We had talked about, last week we got all into fish and follow the fish. That became a phrase from last week. So the only winner for the fish contest drawing is my daughter. I don't think anyone else submitted anything. But I did want to talk about that because last week we talked and we used the phrase follow the fish. And we said that because there was this great quote from Hafiz. Does anyone remember the quote well enough that they can say it aloud? If not, I have it. I got it. But is there anyone who remembers the quote about what Hafiz said about fish? I'll share it. Somebody have it? Susan, do you have it?
I do.
Would you share it with us and we'll hear from you? Yeah, go ahead. What was the fish quote?
At a certain point, the fish has to say something just ain't right about this camel ride.
At a certain point, the fish just has to say there just ain't something right about this camel ride. And we talked about how for all of us that there's a certain point where we realize this society we live in is slightly crazy. And there's something just ain't right about all of it, and we have to keep trying. And I thought a little bit more about fish, and I have another story I want to tell you about fish. So is everybody comfy?
Yes. Yep. Yes.
And welcome to everyone who just joined. There's another story about fish, and this one is scientists did, they do experiments, and they took a little fish that was used to schooling. Like most fish either are schooling fish or not schooling fish. So they took a fish that was of the schooling variety, and they looked for the guy or the gal fish. I don't know how they know the difference, whatever. They find the fish, and they bred out the schooling in that particular type of fish. So they wound up with this kind of fish that usually schools and follow each other around, and they unlearned the schooling so that they had a fish who didn't school anymore. And they took that fish and they got it in with a whole group of regular schooling fish. And I want you to think for a moment about what happened. And I will tell you that in my years of telling this story, nobody has gotten the right answer the first time. I didn't get the right answer the first time. And then when you hear it, you go, yeah, well, of course that makes sense. So they took the non-schooling fish, they plopped it into a group of schooling fish, and guess what happens? Don't guess, I'll tell you. All of the non-schooling fish start following the schooling fish. Right? Oh, I'm sorry. All of the schooling fish, I messed up the punchline of the moral of the story, so go me. All of the fish who are used to schooling see the one fish who's not a schooler, and the one fish is like, hey, I'm going to go over here, and then all of the guys follow. And the whole of it is like that from then on.
Wow.
Thank you, Ricky, for the reaction. Anyone else want to have a sigh or a reaction or anything else?
Wow.
We'll take a wow. Great. And of course, this is for those of you.
Hello while you're doing that.
Go a little bit extra, of course, when you're. I think Zoom is really good for me. I speak with my hands, so you can see my excitement in what I'm doing. And when you're reacting, please make sure to react with full body so we can see you, because you're only about this big on the screen. All right, so that was the story about the fish. So that's the opposite, right? Last week we said follow the fish, and this week I'm going to say the exact opposite, which is be the fish that doesn't school. Do your own thing, and probably people are going to be impressed and start following you too.
Well, not yet. Right now they're just mad at me.
Wait a minute, Joe. Why are they mad at you?
Because I am not doing what I used to do.
All right, so now in a certain case, Joe, do you mind if I divulge a little? Or why don't you divulge a little about what are you not doing that you used to do?
I am a caretaker extraordinaire by nature, and so people will ask me to do things, and I typically just say yes. I just say yes without thinking, and I did that all of 2020, and it exhausted me, and I decided 2021, no thank you. No thank you. I used the tissue, blowing the tissue.
Oh, okay, let's go over that for a moment, because I don't know if everyone remembers. If you have a tissue, this is a great exercise.
Yes.
Go grab a tissue. I'll give you a moment. Grab a tissue, would you?
Oh,
This is interactive. So here's how it goes. I'm going to do this first, and Nikki, I'm going to ask you if you would help me out on this one.
Okay.
All right, it goes like this. Oh, also, Joe, I really was hoping when I said, would you share with everybody, I was hoping you would just say no.
Oh, get it! I get it!
That is not how to do it.
Okay, so,
Rabbi.
silly rabbi. Okay,
you always retract yourself and says that wasn't it.
it's all good. It's all good. So here's how the tissue thing works. And I'm going to ask you, you're going to have homework today, which is to carry your tissue around. I'm going to do it first with Nikki. Hold on a sec. Nikki,
Thanks for sharing.
Yes,
would you like this?
not particularly today, Rabbi.
Okay, that was it. That was the entire exercise. Let me slow it down because it happened so fast that I'm not sure everyone saw it. I have a snotty tissue here in my hand, and I said to Nikki, would you like it? And Nikki, you said?
Not today, thank you.
Not today, thank you. That was it. Okay, so now everybody, take your tissue. Everyone who has a tissue, take your tissue. Blow your nose in it, or pretend. I did it with my lips on. Okay. And now, go to offer it to somebody, and they're going to say, No, thank you. Okay, that's perfect. So now keep your tissue on your table so you'll know what it's there for. Is anytime anyone goes to give you something that you don't want, you have the right, just like Nikki, to say,
Oh, thank you.
no, thank you.
Thank you.
Somebody offers you an insult. You have the power to say,
No, thank you.
now, of course, this goes back to what we talked about last week about our default setting. Our default setting is somebody insults you, say, oh, well, you're just stupid. Our default setting is to say, nah, I hate you. But we have the ability, if somebody comes at us with some hatred, we have the ability to say,
No, thank you.
no, thank you.
No, thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, well, that's going to lead us greatly into what we're some parts of today. I had brought this quote from Martin Luther King Jr. It's we're celebrating his birthday on Monday here, and he said, "I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear." I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. And he has some others. I'm going to bring these up here too. This is one of my favorite quotes ever. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Hate multiplies hate. Violence multiplies violence. And toughness multiplies toughness in the descending spiral of destruction. The chain reaction of evil, hate begetting hate, wars producing more wars, must be broken, or we shall be plunged into the dark abyss of annihilation. I'm not done with the quotes, folks. Here's another one. This is also Martin Luther King Jr. He said, a fifth point concerning nonviolent resistance is that it avoids not only external physical violence, but also internal violence of spirit. The nonviolent resistor not only refuses to shoot his or her opponent, but he or she also refuses to hate them. The nonviolent resistor not only refuses to shoot their opponent, but also refuses to hate them.
A tough trick to pull off.
It's a tough trick to pull off. Was that Jordan?
Hey, yes.
Yeah, it's a tough trick to pull off, but let's go with this. It might be tough, but what's the alternative?
Yes. Exactly.
The alternative is hate. The alternative is destruction. The alternative is nothing too good. So here's how we're going to look at this one today. I'm sure many of you remember this matrix. This is a matrix by Eli Goldratt, the Israeli physicist, and he said that in all situations where we're looking at change, and that delta on the left, that means change. So here's not change, here's change, and that for every time that we go to change, we have positives and negatives associated with them. Now I'm going to first start again with what we call each one of these. This one we call the pot of gold. This is if you get the pot of gold. This is if you change, you get all the goodness you ever wanted in the world. This one, some of you might notice I have practiced and gotten better at these drawings. I sat here, I promise you, and I worked on this on a little YouTube tutorial. That's a monster.
Yeah.
If we don't change, the monster's going to get us. If we change, we're going to get our pot of gold. It gives us the two other quadrants to look at, and they look like this. The positives of not change. What? There are positives of not changing? Yeah, there are positives of not changing.
Mermaid.
That's the mermaid. Wait, I forgot how I draw this one. Here we go. Mermaid. The mermaid is what we call it, but the mermaid is this idea that there's something that we enjoy about the current reality. There's something, not gossiping is one of my favorite examples of it. We know that we shouldn't gossip, but there's this warm, oozy connection we feel with other people when we gossip. That's the mermaid we would have to give up. And finally, on this one is if we change, there's a problem that we didn't have before when we just had to deal with the monster that we have to deal with now. Now that we have the pot of gold, we're no longer able to be friends with a mermaid. Most of you already knew mermaids are allergic to gold. Duh. And the pot of gold, if you get the pot of gold, you're now going to have a new problem you didn't have. You now have a car, you're a 16-year-old kid. You now have to pay for car insurance. You now have to deal with your friends who want rides. You now have problems you never had. This is the robber. The robber is what your new problem is. All right, we're going to play this game. Do we need a little bit more on what all 4 quadrants are? I kind of did it quickly because we've done it previously. All right, folks. We're going to play the same game, but we're going to play it. Here's change. Here's not change. Here are the positive. Here's the negatives. This is to do like Martin Luther King Jr. extolled us to, and how religions throughout the world extol us to love. If we are going to live in love, we're going to have a lot of positives. Give me some of the positives we're going to have if we live our lives in love. If we live our lives in love, we will have more
Community.
We'll have more community. What else will we have? We'll have more
Peace.
We'll have peace. What else will we have?
Safety.
We'll have hugs. Jennifer, I didn't hear what you said.
Safety.
We'll have more safety. If we have more happiness. Sounds like a good thing to get. If we say it again, Joy.
Joy. Happiness.
We'll have more happiness.
And justice.
Justice. That's a great quote from Cornel West. It says, justice is what love looks like in public. Justice is what love looks like in public. And I think we're all quite aware that we do not see enough love in public that way. And he continued the quote, he said, intimacy is what love looks like in private.
Wow.
I didn't. Good. So we all want to have more love. We want to change and live our lives in love. When I met my friend Larry, I saw he had the biggest heart of anyone I've ever known, and I thought, I want to be just like that. I want to have more love. I want to be able to find the love everywhere I can. Opposite here is we're trying to get away from hate. We're trying to get away from our base. That's a pair of swords, in case you need. That's my shorthand for war and pestilence and violence. It's little swords. Let's talk about the mermaid. If we are to live lives with more love, think about this for a second. If you are to live with more love, you're going to have to give up. If you're going to get that community, that sense of justice, that sense of joy, if we're going to get all those things, we might lose some of these things. What are some of those things we might lose if we live our lives in love?
Bitching.
Okay, let's all talk at the same time on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, go. No, don't do that.
Bitching.
No, I was kidding. That was a joke. That was a joke. It was a joke. Okay. Rob, what is it you said? I know you said something.
Bitching.
If we live in more love, we're going to have to give up our propensity for bitching about things.
Yes.
What else will we have to give up if we live in more love? We are quite possibly have to give up.
What we think is
Self-righteousness.
having our way.
I'm going to go with this self-righteousness. I don't know how the people who do improv do this, where they have everyone shout out at once and they know which one. We're going to go with bitching, self-right. All right, folks, who's really willing to give up their self-righteous indignation? I mean, I am on paper. I'm glad to do it on paper. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What else do we have to give up? If we
look at the people who lived in love, they were both assassinated.
There were only 2 people who lived in love?
Well, you see Martin Luther King,
Yeah.
you see Gandhi. I'm just talking about recent ones.
Yeah.
I'm saying when people live in love, they are unfortunately surrounded by people who live in hate, and therefore they are so vulnerable.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay. So we might have to give up our
Hate their
life.
lives.
Judgment.
Okay, so I'm going to go with judgment in a second. So we might have to give up. I mean, that's the whole Jesus story, isn't it? That Jesus God loved the
way
world.
through. The people who hate because it gives them a sense of belonging.
Ah.
They now belong to a group of people. They have community, but it's not the community we want.
We have belonging. The easiest way to make a group is with resentment and a coffee pot.
Right. or even a something more alcoholic.
Okay.
Right.
But belonging, if we are, listen to this, folks. If we are to go out and you are to be all filled with love, and your friend group or whoever, it's not like we're all socializing that much together, but the general ethos here is fuck the other side. And if you're not with us, you're against us. And if you live your life in love, you might have to give up some
Right.
friends.
Yeah.
That's a high price. Yes, Michael, I think you're saying something. Michael, you're on mute, though.
Is letting go.
If we live in love, oh, shit.
We have to let go of all kinds of things. Yeah?
Okay, meeting adjourned. We are not doing this.
Okay.
Who wants to do that? We're going to have to let go. Okay, let's look at the other one. Because maybe...
Are you, Rabbi?
Yeah, Amy.
Brian,
Cousin
are you
Amy.
saying that we're supposed to love each other?
I think I might have implied that. I don't think it's a direct quote. Yeah, I think that's our job here, ain't it? So let's look over here. Let's look over here at the...
Fuck, I gotta love my students?
You gotta love your students. You gotta love yourself. That Deuteronomy quote, love the Lord your God with all... I hate the phrase Lord your God, but it's so drilled into my head. We must love the God that we understand with all our heart, with all our mind, with all our spirit, and to love our neighbors as ourselves. And okay, unless you really hate yourself, in which case don't love your neighbor that way. Love your neighbor in a different way. So wait, let's look over here.
Switch it around.
Let's look over here for a sec. If we live in more love, we're going to have to give up all these things that we like, and we might have a new problem. Now, sometimes we can just do the opposite of the things that are down here in the Mermaid, but I'm going to ask us not to do that. If we live in more love, we're going to have a new problem, a problem we never had before. What is a problem we're going to have that we never had before?
Being hurt.
Oh.
Jealousy.
Yeah, vulnerability.
We could be hurt much more. You got a soft front. People might hurt you. Of course, we do have our tissues, and we know we can always say no thank you to whatever they throw at us. But let's face it, day after day, people hurting you, it starts to hurt. It's hard to keep up. So if we love more, we might wind up being hurt.
It's hard to catch a Kleenex, a bullet with a Kleenex.
Ah.
If I had a nickel for every time I heard that phrase, I'd have 5 cents by now. Yes, Rob, we could.
Never done.
What else? We could wind up, if we love more, if we give ourselves to love, if we give up on hate, if we do like Martin Luther King Jr. said, and we said, I'm decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. If we decide to stick with love, we might wind up with more. Oh, I should also ask our friends on Facebook. I don't even have that open. People who are on Facebook, you can put in a comment and we can see that.
Oh, we might end up with better boundaries, which might help us love ourselves and others better and kind of make the whole situation a little more easy to manage.
Oh, that's a positive. So say that again, please, Tony.
Sure, that we might end up with better boundaries. For example, if I know I have a soft front, I'm not going to go walking into a herd of rhinoceros. You know, I'm going to operate with a different set of wisdom. So the people, the company I keep, the things I expose myself to, the things I prepare myself for, all become different because I know I'm trying to maintain a soft front. So I can't have the same boundaries I had when I was shielded.
So this goes, and I think that goes back. Thank you so much. Goes a little to what Joe was
Thank
talking about. Was that we now might have boundaries that we didn't have before that are going to get tested. There's our. All right, anyone who's on Facebook, I just found where I left the comments, so I'll be able to see where you are now. If we love more, we could wind up hurt. We could wind up another problem that we've never had before because we love more. I think we might wind up confused. We're pretty sure how to deal with things because we're used to our default settings. But if you, there's a beautiful Kate Wolf song called Give Yourself to Love. Oh, is it beautiful? And that's what it is. The lyric goes, give yourself to love because love is what you're after. And then there's another line that rhymes with that, and I can't remember it right now.
Open up your heart to the tears and laughter.
Amen. Open up your heart to the tears and laughter. Thank you so much. If you wind up changing and having more love, you might have some more tears.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Might have to change your friends.
You might have to get new friends. You might
That's
have
what I
to
was
be
thinking
lonely
about
for a
boundaries.
long while.
Why? Why do you have to change your friends?
It depends. If you have friends who you're used to being an asshole with, and you give yourself to love, either your friends are going to come with you, or they're not. It might strain your. We could say it this way: it might strain your relationships. I'll bet. Who's playing this? Who is that? That was fantastic. That was the song. That was the opening chords.
Betsy Weston.
Betsy, do it again.
Take it off mute, though.
Wait, but you're on mute, Betsy. This is a very live show, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is life. That's why I like services to be live, because it's much more like life than reading antithetically, where I read something, you say something back. That's great, and it's it can move us, but it's not how my life is. Betsy, we are going to. I know you just said I'm trying because I can read lips well enough to get that, but you're still on mute. Okay, we'll get back to you a little bit later in our show. All right.
Rabbi Brian,
Yes.
I'd like to introduce the idea that
Okay, hold on, Betsy. Hold on. We're at Michael right now.
we don't have to, I'll be quick, we don't have to be soft to be loving.
We don't have to be soft to be loving. This is something Brene Brown talks about. She talks about soft front, strong back.
Wild heart.
Wild heart. That you can be soft and strong at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. Being loving, that might be a huge fear, that people are going to walk all over me now that I'm loving. But you don't have to. Thank you, Michael, for bringing that in. Betsy, take it away. Does anyone know the words and they can sing?
Give yourself to love.
Do it.
If love is what you're after, open up your heart to the tears and laughter and give yourself to love. Give yourself to love.
Amen.
Beautiful.
Let's give some extra love to Betsy. Thank you for sharing with yourself openly and doing. That's vulnerable, right? Is that not inspiring?
Well, I'm a ham anyway.
That was wonderful. Give ourselves love. All right. So, on paper right now, does it look worthwhile? And the answer is yes. And I can tell you why it's yes. The answer yes is because this is infinite.
Yeah.
And everything else is not. Love is infinite, and that's what we're here for. We all know that. We're here to love. And I'm going to give us all a charge. This world is not feeling very loving right now. And when we talk about us and then we talk about them, we have a problem. There's no them. And when we make a them, we're cutting our hearts off from them. I'll give a quick definition of love that my friend Larry taught me. I've taught this before. Oh, by the by, here, I'm going to bring this up. I'm so excited about this. This is going live very, very soon. A lot of you know that I started recording my phone calls with Larry. The first one is edited and up, and if you go, Alex, could you put the link in the chat, rotb.org/chat. Chat or chats, I can't remember which one it is. It will bring you to the very first episode where Larry doesn't know I'm recording, and it's he and Virginia are just on a tear about, well, you'll hear it. It's a beautiful thing. So Larry taught me what he learned about love, which he learned from a psychologist by the name of Logan Fox. And I need everyone, I don't need everyone, I would like everyone to say this word with me. Everyone on the count of three, let's say this word. 1, 2, 3. That sounded great. I don't want to spend a lot of time on the last three of them, but parts of love are acceptance, understanding, and response. Those are the three qualities at the end of love, but there's a quality before that of love. And if you don't do this one, none of the others make much difference. And this is this. To love someone starts with recognizing them. The least loving thing you can do is pretend someone isn't there. And any of you, any of us, we still probably carry around trauma of the day that we were on the wrong side of a silent treatment. And that shit hurts. Really hurts. To not be seen for who you are, it really hurts. And the beginning of love is with being recognized, of recognizing other people, seeing them. I learned this more from Jane. Jane has the kids say about Jane that there are no strangers, there are just people mom hasn't met yet.
Oh, lovely. That's lovely.
Jane will just start talking to anyone, and she picks up something that she can recognize about them, and she'll just start and say, oh, that's a lovely mask you're wearing. Recognizing them, seeing them. And I've started doing the same thing. The cashier has like giant, like those kind of nails where if you've never had long nails like that, you think, how the heck do you even wipe your bum? Like that kind of long nail. And just to be able to say, oh my goodness, you have long nails. Now, that's a stupid comment for me to make. And I'll tell you, the first time you do things like this, where you just start recognizing what's right in front, it feels like everyone knows that you're just working off a script, because it just seems so stupid to say the obvious thing. Oh, look, you have bright orange hair. Like, yeah, duh. But the simple act of me saying to the cashier, oh my goodness, you have long nails, lets them know that I'm willing to love them.
This message is for direct loan customers only.
I don't know what to do with that. All right. That was ghost in the machine for a moment, which is all fine. To recognize people, to see them. When we did the gratitude exercise where I make everyone send an email or a text to someone, that's to recognize them, to see them. So here's it, folks.
To let them know that you're seeing them.
Amen. Let them know that you're seeing them. Guys, to go very meta in what we're doing here, when any of you speak, I do my best to let it be known that I heard you.
Mm-hmm.
To let you know at the beginning when I welcome you by name, and I apologize for not welcoming you by name if I missed you, it's to let you know that I recognize your feelings. That's the beginning of love.
Amen.
Can I get an amen?
Amen.
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 So now, go and now the homework is on you to go out and be more loving. I'm going to pause there. We're going to do something a little bit different for a moment. I want us to think, and I'm going to break us. Everyone knows where the chat is. Maybe we'll use the chat. Maybe we'll break into groups. I haven't decided quite yet. Now I've decided. We're going to break into groups. And also, if you don't want to be in a group, would you please quickly send a chat to Alex to say, I don't want to be in a group, and we'll make sure that when the groups happen, we can swipe you out of a group. Because some people get a little skitchy when it's a smaller group and they don't want to share, and that's perfectly fine. What we were going to do, here's the exercise. I want you to imagine that space-time travel, well, happened, but it happened where you go back in time, or one of your really distant relatives from a really long time ago jumps up and is in time with us now. I want you to imagine, and this is going to wind up being a gratitude exercise in a weird way, but here's what I want you to do. I want you to imagine you're talking with someone from 3 centuries ago, and while we're in imagination land, let's pretend that the language works perfectly fine and you like each other and you're just sitting for a cup of tea with someone from 300 years ago. What do you think would be one of the hardest things to explain to your distant ancestors that we have today? Like, I wouldn't even try to I don't know, like Zoom? Could you even try to explain, and would you say, we have the ability to fly? I want you to think of the top 2 things that would be the hardest for you to explain to someone from the past. What are 2 things? And throw them into the chat. Let's do that. Throw some things up into the chat. Again, the chat's on the bottom of your screen. Some things are filling up. Here are some things that would be hard for us to explain. The internet, data engineering, iPads, cars, telephones, women voting, refrigerators. I'm missing some. Technology, medicine, keep going. Equality, women preaching, Wi-Fi, fertility treatments. The ability, because of Zoom, to be in 2 places at once. That there are good people who don't believe in God. Air conditioning. People working in an office. Religion. Cures for diseases. Gender. That it's still a thing. That's fascinating. Vaccination. The world is not flat. Yeah, that would be hard to explain. COVID. Yeah. A Confederate flag in the White House last week. Well, you would have to do a lot of back filling in to explain that one. Burn. I don't understand that one, Jennifer. Mentally healthy, mixed-raced people. Ooh. Women in government, germs causing disease, children allowed to be children. Aren't these all fabulous things? Lighters. I assume we mean like we have the ability to make fire when we want. We don't even think about that. Clean drinking water.
Yeah, water out of a tap.
Water out of a tap. That makes no sense at all. Private bathrooms would make no sense at all. How about the quality of our food? How about the fact that we have food all the time?
Grocery store.
Grocery stores, electricity, solar energy. Oh, my daughter wrote s'mores. No, I'm totally with you on that, Annie. That one's true, because my great-great-great-grandparents, like chocolate, they don't know from marshmallows. Those don't exist. The closest they would have to a graham cracker? No way. Coffee. Refrigerations. Okay, great. These are all wonderful things for which we, I think, forget to have gratitude. This was my clever way of coming about having a little gratitude exercise for us today. I'll give us a quote from the Talmud. And in the Talmud, in Pirkei Avot, it asks and then answers the question. So it's a rhetorical question. And it says, who is rich? And the answer is, whosoever is content with what they have. Whosoever is content with what they have. My students changed the quote, and they said it, the people who are the richest are the people who need the least. To have gratitude is to look around and to count the 99 things that are amazing right in front of our eyeballs. How about relative peace? Anybody really afraid of being murdered today? Going outside the clan? No.
No.
We have all these things, but again, this goes back to default settings we talked about last week, is that our default setting is to look for the problem. And evolutionary biologists have explained to us that that kept our species going, was the fact that we were always on hyper alert looking out for the thing that might get us. And then to be content with things would mean that a bear is coming and you'd be like, oh, I'm kind of happy. That bear looks warm. That would not go very well. Okay, I didn't get to read all of the chat, but it looks like the chat devolved into s'mores and tacos. Oh, humans in space. That's fantastic. All these things. So the other reason I wanted us to go to love, Martin Luther King implored us, and he said hate is too great a burden to bear. Let's stick with that second half for a moment. Hate is too great a burden to bear. How many of us have had something that we hate, and then once you put it down, you realize, oh my gosh, my life is so much easier without that hate? Can I see a show of hands? Anyone ever have that experience?
Yes.
Only most everybody. So let this today be our wake up call. Let's give up the hate. Let's give up the hate. Okay, here's going to be, there are people who have different views than I do, who have plans to be protesting an inauguration that I plan on celebrating. My challenge for me and for all of us, if the basis of love is to recognize, how are you going to go out this week and do something to recognize the people for whom this is a really bad week? How are you going to love on them? And it might be as simple as not saying hateful things about them. It might be just telling your group of friends, hey, you know what? Those are human beings too. And making fun of their intelligence that's not right. And 4 years ago, we were in their shoes, and how much it would have felt wonderful for us if someone had said, hey, I'm sorry your team didn't win, but you're still important. Instead, we're doing some horrible things. Okay, I feel like I went a little, usually I don't preach that hard at everybody, but I needed to preach that hard at everybody. I'm going to give two other quotes. Say it again, Bob.
You can love the person without their action.
Correct. I want to give this quote from Audre Lorde. If you don't know it, it's a beautiful one. It says this: for the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. They may allow us to temporarily beat him at his own game, but they will never enable us to bring about genuine change. Well, what does that mean? The tools from the master's house, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. If we want to see change in the world, if we want to see we're never going to be able to do it with hate. Hate will not beat hate. Only love can do that. And here's a quote from John Lennon. He said this: "When it comes down to having to use violence, then you are playing the system's game. The establishment will irritate you, pull your beard, flick your face to make you fight. Because once they've got you violent, they know how to handle you. The only thing they don't know how to handle is nonviolence and humor."
Amen to that one.
I'll give one other
amen.
from Martha Beck. This speaks to you, each and every one, and me too. "The repercussions of one person living in stubborn gladness are incalculable."
I love that.
Stubborn and glad.
If you, whoever's in the Zoom box right now or listening, if you are the person who lives in stubborn gladness, Annie, I know you're here, but I'm going to say it anyway. There are times when we all annoy the crap out of each other in this little lifeboat of a house that we have, all of us. But there's something, and we will pick fights with each other. But there's something that each of us are able to do, which is not take the bait. Where we don't take the bait and we go, you can be as mad at me as you want. I'm still going to be in stubborn gladness. Goes to our tissues, right? You can yell at me all you want. No, thank you. Okay. Boy, let me see what else I have on my notes. I have some other notes. Let me make a few announcements. 3 ways you can help support Religion Outside the Box. 1, tell your friends, send the newsletter to them. The one that comes out on Monday is about lessons that come from the game of chess. It's kind of fun. Invite people to services. That's a way you can support this work. 2, you can make a donation to Religion Outside the Box. This magic, it happens, but it happens because people support and partner with me to make this happen. And 4, the Etsy shop is open. You can buy some stuff. Right now, I'm pushing Exodus. We're reading, in the Jewish tradition, we're reading the book of Exodus starting last week for the next 10 weeks. If you would like to get a once-a-week email, it's my thoughts on the book of Exodus, the reflections on Exodus. It has a summary of each section, and then my outside-the-box kind of hitting it from different angles approach every week. So that's there. Thank you for the other announcements that are up there. Tuesday at 3 hours from our start time, so at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, with this very same Zoom link, join the Tuesday crew. The Tuesday crew is kind of like this, but not. It's just a group of people trying to get through. It's like a life support group. I don't talk as much, and they tease me a lot more. So please join on Tuesdays. And after services, we have a newcomer welcome virtual donut holes. So if you've never stayed after the service to hang out and talk, today is officially Newcomers Welcome Day. I made that up. Newcomers are always welcome, but today I want you to feel special welcome. And Joe, I think you're still volunteering to moderate and help us out with that. And everyone who shows up usually to the group, please make the newcomers feel welcome and let I know you know what I'm saying. Okay, great. Meditation every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I stream on Facebook and on YouTube if you want to sit with me. And Monday is $5 Monday. If you sit for 5 minutes with me, we do a 5-minute sit on Mondays, and you don't think it was worth it, I will send you $5. There's one person for whom I did a 20-minute deal, and if you look in the past, that's Annie. Annie sat with me for 20 minutes, did a 20-minute sit. So don't you tell me that you can't sit for 20 minutes, because I got a little girl who figured out how to do it. It's a great thing. And also, you can just nap for 20 minutes, and you call it meditation, and people give you a lot more credit if you say you were just meditating than if you say I just took a nap. I think that's it for my announcements. That's it for announcements. I want to take a moment to give special special love to our friend Enrique, who lost his big bro cousin, Renee, over this past week. And is there anyone else for whom there's something that's hard on their heart that they want to share and somehow feel like sharing with the group would do their heart some good? Is there anyone else who's got something they want to put out there? Yeah, Candace. Candace, you're on mute. I'm so sorry. Go for it.
Anyway, this isn't huge in the scheme of things, but I got a bunch of tests done, and basically my kidneys, I can't donate a kidney medically. So I went through all the tests, and well, our kidneys don't work 50-50. One of mine's at 62%. Normally I'd get to keep that one, but it means the guy would get the other one that's at 38%, which isn't really good.
Oh.
So I'm going to go muscle up a few more people to get tested.
Well, thank you for your generous spirit and generous heart, and I'm sorry the medicals didn't work out as you had hoped. Other things that we want to share? All good? All right. Hold on. Something just came in. Oh, yeah. Nice. Sorry about that. I just got a message and is all blah, blah, blah. I don't know how many of you have ever tried to produce a live television show weekly. It's kind of fun. You should try it. Who can tell me what their homework was for this week? So I didn't expressly give. Well, I gave a few things, but what is it you're taking with you? What is the homework assignment that you're going to work on this week? What is the thing you're going to work on this week? So think of an answer and let me. Yeah, Emily, what are you working on this week? What'd you get? What did you hear as the homework assignment this week?
Recognize.
To recognize.
And for those who I'm watching be different and feel different than I am, just to simply recognize that you feel differently. You feel very strongly about what you're doing.
Thank you. And so your homework is to recognize people for how they are, where they are, what they're doing. What else are people taking as homework for this week?
Gratitude.
Gratitude. I'll give you here's a hint.
Love more.
That's more love.
Open yourself to love. Just like Betsy saying, give yourself to love. Love is what you're after. If you follow and see me on Facebook, you saw that last week I had two dear friends have some hateful things done to them. And in both cases, I posted some of that hate onto Facebook, which screwed up Facebook's algorithm, and then it kept me from making comments, and because it thought I was the one making the anti-Semitic comments. Thanks, Facebook. But in both cases, I posted I posted some of this hate that people had made towards random people had made. And in both cases, I asked people on Facebook to send love to these people they didn't know. And I heard from both of the people how much it helped their heart to be given love by random people. It's amazing how far it goes. I've taken now with customer service, they say, well, is there anything else we can help you with? And I time this one, I get it right. And I say, well, actually there is. And I insert that person's name because I always try to remember their name. And they say, is there anything else I can help you with? And I say, well, yes, there is. Name. And they say, well, what is that? I say, could you have a wonderful day? And it seems so goofy to do, but it just catches them off guard, and it's sending a little bit more love out there. So please go and send more love, because everyone's hurting. Everyone needs more love. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. So I think I'm gonna wrap us up here. I'm looking. We got 5 minutes to go. I had a vice principal of a school once say, "You have to teach bell to bell. You have to, as soon as the bell starts, start teaching as soon." And I really found out he was wrong. He was an asshole. So I should have kind of known. You don't have to. So we're going to end a few moments early. And I'm going to thank the group who stay for virtual donut holes for being as welcoming and as inviting as y'all always are. And I thank all of you for showing up. And I send you love, and I send you out into this world as though I have the authority to do so, which I do not. And I send you out into this world to go and be more love. Amen.
Amen.
Have a good rest of the weekend.
So,
Alex,
Brian,
I'm putting you in charge.
Brian, thanks for ending with, we have to teach bell to bell.
We don't have to teach bell to bell.
Says who?
You do whatever you want. It's your classroom. I'll see you guys all next week, hopefully. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Send love.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, whoever else is watching this.